It was out until accepted, we gave all of our powers to them. We put that in years ago, realize that those would be one of the last ones that get fixed up. Because they have bigger ones.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
You can't blame the power.
No.
I don't know where it's at.
I know.
Pick a roll. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see, Benny.
Yeah. Yeah, they got, I know they got banned. There's Corey Guest. I talked to somebody today at the house, and they don't know if they're ready for me to live it at all, so I talked to somebody. But they would be or not. I'll find out tomorrow if there's.
Yeah.
No. But we were out Saturday during the storm. Well, we were, well, the first time we were there, this was afternoon. We were on the water at 2:15 is when it hit us on the water. Yeah. I heard the first rumbles, and I was on water. And I think we gotta get back, tuck the boat away, covered it, and we had 8 other boats get off, because there was idiots that still returned to launch. It was like, you guys are idiots, go up there, lightning, into the rain.
I've got 6:30. Welcome everybody to the Town of Waukesha, July 23rd, 2015 Town Board meeting beginning at 6:30 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Madam Clerk, have we met the requirements of the open meetings law?
Yes, we have.
And I'm sorry, I missed the roll call, please.
Supervisor Durr?
Here.
Supervisor Fisher?
Here.
Chairman Merrick?
Present.
Supervisor Radke?
Here.
Supervisor Wolf?
Here. And we can begin with citizens' comments if there are any. Going once, going twice. And we can move on to meeting minutes of July 9th, 2015. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes of July 9th, 2015.
And a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Question, just a quick question. Just making sure on this meeting was called to order at 7:15,
No. Good catch. No.
6:30.
Yeah, we had a plan commission meeting, that would be about right. Wouldn't it?
We had the Plan Commission before that?
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
That was not the meeting you were absent for, correct?
No.
Okay.
I'm a meeting off. Okay, I got it.
Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to new business, discussion and possible action on the following. Request for an extension of non-compliant property from David Pruska. And David is here in our audience tonight. Come on up and tell us what's going on.
Well, this is my first incident. I've been a property owner for like 25 years. And, you know, I guess I'm not the tidiest, but I don't think I'm the worst. But I've been called on some things and hope I can find some gray area somewhere. But I have seen the pictures finally. Up until now, I haven't really seen the pictures for the non-compliance. And since the situation is that I've got to do cleanup, tidy up, removal, I've been doing some of that. I guess the biggest issue is this truck. And I'm just trying to find some middle ground on this truck. I'm either going to try and make it a camper or try to determine that it's really not as commercial. I guess you've got some commercial capacity on this thing, and even the DMV says this thing is only a light truck if it's under 10,000 pounds gross. There's no real weight rating on it. So I think a lot of it I'd like to try to find out what your feelings are on this truck, because it has a lot of a tone on whether I license it or not, whether I keep it somewhere else, whether I sell it. And so I guess can I cover it? Can I get a Quonset temporary, like one of those huts to cover it? I mean, are any of these things options?
Well, let's start off with, yes, you did get called on it, but I want to make sure that everybody understands it's not by anybody here or any staff member.
Oh, no.
Somebody has to
I
make-
understand that. I know
Okay.
that there's people.
Somebody has to make a
Oh, no, I
complaint
know.
before
I
it's
understand.
acted.
I understand that. Oh, yeah.
With regards to the truck, to cover it, no, and temporary structures are also not allowed by code. And unlicensed vehicles are not allowed by code, and inoperable vehicles are not allowed by code.
Okay. Well, it runs. But I don't have, if I do insure it, I've got to just insure it for temporary. I've got 3 vehicles insured, so I can't really insure it all the time. It would be for weekends, things like that. So they would write a policy for a weekend. So it's not like I keep it insured all the time. I could certainly put they'll let me put a collector plate on it. But again, it comes down to, do you want the lettering off? Do you want a different color? Can I move it further in the corner? Can I move it back? I mean, it's not really commercial truck.
It just needs to be licensed, right?
Oh,
Because it's got letters, it was from a church, so it's
No, I
basically.
understand, but I don't think there's an issue that whether it's insured or not.
Oh,
I think it needs to be licensed.
absolutely, that can happen.
I mean, I'm not
And
advising
and I'll,
one way
I
or
can
another
paint
to
it.
drive an uninsured vehicle.
No, I'm not, no, and it was towed there, so I didn't
But
even
as far
drive it
as from
there.
the town's point of view,
No, I've had this truck for 2 years somewhere else, and I actually got rid of 2 other vehicles before I brought this here. So this is the other thing, is I didn't want to bring another vehicle. I had 2 vehicles already that I got rid of before I brought this. I owned it for 2 years already. But I could certainly,
I don't think so.
I could put like a cover on the front of it or whatever, so it doesn't look so bad from the front. I mean, I'll do what you need to do, but to make it into a weekend vehicle for camping, or whether I can use it for swap meets, it's going to be very tough to drive it anywhere except, within a mile might work. But if I have to drive it 10, 15 miles, I was parking it 20 miles away. So, I mean, I'll do what I need to just cover the front of it so it's not so eyesore-ish in the front. Because that's what a lot of this kind of, I'm sure, is part of it. So I'm ready to work with you guys
I think
and lady. Sorry.
I think one of the things we need to do is revisit with the building inspector if it's a commercial vehicle, and if a commercial vehicle is then allowed in the driveway. I think our ordinance, and we'll let the building inspection
Perfect.
department determine that. I think a commercial vehicle is not allowed as per ordinance.
I was just talking to the DMV, and they said that they don't have a listing, because they said even a minivan could be a commercial vehicle if it's used in a business, but it's not a business vehicle. So like I said, it's a church vehicle, number one, so it's not commercial, but I'll take the lettering off. It's basically a van. It's a 1-ton chassis. It's a 3,500. So it's not like it's, 18-ton truck. It weighs X amount of pounds, but it has only a capacity of, probably 1,000 or so more than what it's supposed to be actually, weighing and stuff. So it's not like it's huge, it's empty inside. It's not really, full of tools. It's not full of equipment. It's not a commercial truck. And I'd like to use it to get rid of more of my stuff at swap meets or whatever, but I need to have it kind of close by to kind of finish it off, and that's kind of where I'm coming from. And I'm behind the 8 ball on that, but I see other campers and other vehicles. And so that's really where I kind of want to get that established, before I spend too much time on getting the truck fixed up or whatever. And all of a sudden, well, now you still can't keep it there. I need to know kind of where we're at. So the house, the property, the painting, the removal of junk, all the other stuff, that's concrete. Yes, it's painting, it's this. And truck I don't want to spend too much time on this. And then 2 months down the road, well, you still can't have it. I'd like to kind of.
We'll jump on that tomorrow morning.
All right.
The building
Perfect.
inspector will be here in the morning,
All right.
and we can ask that question.
Well, as
And
it pertains to the vehicle, the building inspector referenced 1325C. Right?
yes,
Okay, let me just get there. 2, 4.
You were considering making it a camp?
Right, and there's like 4 things that you need to do to make it a camper, as far as running water, heat, it be enclosed or not. I already looked into that as well, and so 4 of the 6 things you have to do. And so whether you have to have a full enclosure, whether it's got to have, you know, just a little drinking fountain thing in it to me, drinking water, I don't know what that all means because they couldn't tell me at the DMV. So I don't know if I have to go through somebody else, but I mean, to make it a camper, that means I'm still gonna have to keep it nearby to actually do the work to make it a camper. I can't park it 6 miles away and then insure it every other weekend and bring it back all the time. So I mean, that's kind of what it comes down to, is I need to either establish that it's not commercial or establish a certain guidelines and who has to inspect it to make it into a camper.
Well,
And it's still gonna be an eyesore until I paint it or clean the letters up, I'm sure. So there's,
Well, that's why I don't want you to go through unnecessary.
right.
Because as it pertains to 1325C, it reads, a motor vehicle which is no longer licensed, which has been abandoned, disassembled, is not operable, disabled, junked, or wrecked, shall not be stored anywhere on any premise except in an authorized salvage yard or unless it is completely enclosed in a structure. So
Well, it runs. I mean,
think-
it's,
I don't think the issue is that it has lettering on it.
well, good.
I mean, the reference that the building inspector makes is specifically to the ordinance of 1325C, which relates to it not being operable. Now, if it's operable and it's licensed, then I think he meets what's cited in this letter.
I think yes, but let's make sure one more thing, because if another complaint comes forward and it turns out to be that it's an issue with a commercial vehicle, however that's defined by the ordinance.
But that hasn't been addressed in the complaint thus far.
Agreed. However, if it comes back to another complaint, he spends the time doing whatever things he's doing, and then it turns out he still can't park it, that would be an issue for him. So I think it would be prudent to at least investigate that tomorrow and let him know.
Like I said, there's, you know, I've got the radiator sprung a leak while I was getting it running. I mean, there's things that I need to do to, you know, establish, you know, my brakes are just perfectly right. Like I said, I towed it there, but I mean, the engine runs, I can't really drive it out of the yard. You know, that's what it comes down to.
I guess let's set that aside for the moment.
Okay.
The rest of the issues that were listed, how much time do you think you need to finish up getting those items brought into compliance? And then are you far along with any of it at this point?
I have a bit of a list. And again, I wasn't sure where we're at as far as the level. I mean, there's a couple broken windows that need to be taken care of. I removed the tires already. I myself just covered all the front of the garage for now. I'm gonna probably go around the side as well where the garage door is, but I've already put exterior plywood on there and actually ran that down and secured it on the side of the house. I had some snow blowers, some other things sitting outside. Those are gone. I had a huge pile of stuff that went that first weekend. I mean, it was a huge pile. We were hauling it away when it was dark, literally. And there's other stuff that has to go. I've had a really busy 2 weeks and I wasn't able to do a lot for the last 2 weeks. And I was a little confused about when I actual complaint was. So I kind of put off grabbing a letter and the time I actually came in to talk about it, it was actually this 4th of July weekend. So that gave me another 2 weeks till this meeting. And a lot of it kind of came down to my deadlines and things like that. So this has never happened to me before. I mean, there's certain things I like doing right. And there's wood on the deck that can go away. I mean, a lot of this stuff can happen quicker now because these last 2 weeks are over. So, I mean, there's things that can go away faster now and there's things that can happen. I'm gonna have to pay people to help me. Like I said, there's like shed doors. I don't really know the exact list of things that you want me to do or what order. So I guess I need to have
aren't they listed
schedule.
in this letter?
What's in the
And isn't that the point of the letter?
hearings. Insulation on the house, repairs and paint are needed.
Yeah, I mean, I can, if I'm painting the whole house, it's gonna take longer than just to kind of touch up the front. I mean, there's probably spots, trim and stuff like that. There's the front steps are out of paint. I guess Kathy told me that the light post on front, there's certain things that are quite obvious that I can do those, and it's very cut and dried what I need to do. So I don't really have a list of specific things. There's some bricks under the deck. I can make those go away. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's laying around that you've seen that may not be in the pictures. I can make that all go away. So,
Would you be able to stop into town hall tomorrow morning while the building inspector's here and you guys can go through the photos and create a list of what needs to be done?
I've seen the photos and I've talked to him several times and he said he wasn't going to be here, but I work up at Northridge and nobody really can even really do my job really properly. I've got 4 weeks of vacation that I can't even take because no one can do my job. I'm going to end up taking the money to put it toward the house. Let's put it that way. That's what's going to probably happen. So, I mean, I don't mind just having a list because that's going to get me going.
How about a phone conversation with him? Touch base with him in the
I've
morning?
talked to him several times and that's fine. Like I said, if he wants to email me a list or.
Oh, he's not here tomorrow.
No, Martin takes off on Fridays now, so we have Tom in, but he wouldn't know the real situation.
Okay, Monday then?
Like I said, it's tough during the day. I mean, like I said, I work in Northridge. I mean, I don't mind just talking on the phone. That's
Right.
fine. Oh, just phone. Oh, that's
Why don't
part
you
of
give him a
it.
call and put a list together with him? If you've talked with him on the phone, put a list together with the specific items that he needs taken care of to bring it into compliance. And then the question is, how long is that going to take you? We know about insulation on the front of the house, the paint work, siding and so forth. Just those things, what kind of time frame are you looking at so that we don't cut you short, so that you don't have to come back here again?
Well, I think someone mentioned like the shed doors. I mean, I'm gonna have to pay to have someone come in and do those. I've got wood for them, but I'm gonna be paying someone when he can get in there. We're talking probably 2 months because I'm gonna be fussy. I'm gonna be overcompensating on trim. I'm gonna be overcompensating on every bit of everything gone. I mean, things like that. I don't really know. I mean, once you start walking through what's that. I don't know how this happens because most of the stuff you can't see from the road. And
So
again,
if we said 60 days, would that work for you?
well, depending on what he wants. I mean, if I have to paint the whole house, I mean, that'd be a good start. Let's put it that way. And if it's going to be, I'd like to get paint done earlier rather than later before it gets cold. But I mean, 60 days is a good start. And I just need to find out what level of fussiness, I guess, you need me to be at. Because it'd be nice to have it nicer. I mean, granted, I've taken things and let them go. But I mean, I work pretty far away. I take care of my mom's property in Milwaukee. I take care of my aunt's property. I have a second job downtown. So time is a big thing.
Busy guy.
I'm the
Mr.
business.
Chairman, I will move to grant an extension.
Thank you.
60 days for work on his non-compliant property.
Thank you.
In a second.
I'll second.
Thank you very much.
And any further discussion?
Yeah, a few things here. I think it's pretty clear in the letter, the items that need to be addressed, and those
Okay.
are the items that you should focus on.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I mean, the building inspector lists a code and then in parentheses, very specific items. For instance, the exposed rigid insulation and the painting as needed. When we look at the pictures, and I think it's pretty evident what needs to be painted. Then he lists no undesirable objects or structures, utility truck up on jack stands. If it's licensed and it's running, then I think that you've satisfied
I
that
appreciate that.
condition. And then finally, the prohibition of litter, rubbish, and debris. And then in parentheses, he's got tires behind utility truck. So I would hate to see you get enmeshed in
Crazy.
details that
Exactly. I
don't need
could
to
do
be
it less.
addressed to
I-
get you out of this bind.
I hear you. And I'm just worried that there was another sheet of paper that had this, and then this paragraph, this. And so I'm already thinking that I'm going to be looking like the parade of homes when I'm done. And that's why I'm thinking 60 days. It might be less than that, but it really comes down to a bit of a comfort level. But I tend to either want to do stuff, really right. And I just don't want to have to keep looking like I didn't do enough after 60 days. Like, what were you doing for 60 days? I mean, yeah, it needs some paint. Yeah, it needs clutter moved. I mean, there's certain things that have to be done, and I just need to have, if there's only certain things he wants done, that's fine, but I want to overcompensate and make it look even better, because I do have, you know, this amount of time. I don't want to be doing this, you know, every few months or every, you know, interval. So I appreciate you stretching it out for me.
Anything further? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks a lot.
I would give Martin a call just to make sure on Monday. Give him a call, make sure that everything that you understand he wants done, that you have done. That would be my final comment.
All right.
Okay.
I mean, is cell phone okay? I mean, that's fine. Okay.
Okay.
Take some notes and I'll just get them done.
Perfect.
Thanks.
6B, Budget Amendment 2015 R05. Madam Clerk?
This transfers money for both the ambulance and the plow truck from the capital fund into capital outlay, and $30,000 of assigned funds that were assigned in the general fund for the sewer project into general government to pay for those 3 projects.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion to adopt resolution 2015-05 for the budget amendment as stated.
In a second?
Second.
In discussion? We have a motion and a second. This requires a roll call vote, Madam Clerk?
Supervisor Durr,
Aye.
Supervisor Fisher,
Aye.
Chairman Merrick,
Aye.
Supervisor Radke,
Aye.
and Supervisor Wolf.
Aye.
Motion passes. On to 7, current business, discussion and possible action on the following. Ordinance 2015-0-03, amending 6-2-13 sub M uniform address tiles. Has everybody had a chance to review the changes? And if so, is there a motion?
I will move to adopt ordinance number 2015-03 as presented.
In a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
Question about this, assuming that we pass this then, and this kind of goes to Kathy, we will put the essential part of this information on the town website in some form?
Yes, we will.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, question, will there be a form that residents can fill out online to order one, or do they need to come in, or, do you know?
They can contact, I can put out there if you'd like, I can put out 2 vendors that would,
Oh, so we're not,
yeah, we're not doing the ordering for them. They
Okay.
can go to the vendor of choice.
okay,
I will, after, if you pass this, I will contact the 2 vendors that are most used and let them know of the town's wishes of, on the uniformity.
One other further question, if there is some way, if you're gonna post this on the town website and stuff, is there some way that we could get a graphic image of that or something? I mean, I don't know, use
Yes.
the town hall's address to something, but to literally show people what this would look like as a graphic image. Do you think one of the vendors would do
Yes.
that?
I can do that.
Thank you.
You don't want your address up there?
Not so much.
Okay. Anything further? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to B, motion to transfer funds from the general fund to the capital fund for future future projects.
Hi, the motion to transfer is, we're looking at the next subject to make the change on policy on fund balance. What this does is it transfers using that idea and that policy using 2014 audit numbers. So at the end of 2014, we had $1,563,125 of unassigned general fund balance. If we want to keep it at a minimum balance of 25%, that would mean we would never be able to go without a further $711,443,025, looking at the 2015 budget. 40% of the 2015 budget would be $1,138,309.20. And I know I'm saying these really fast, but I'm just trying to get to a point. If you wanted to stay with the 25% and move at everything over 40%, we would be transferring from general fund to the capital fund, $424,815,080. Now, I've been in contact with our auditor and our attorney, and according to our auditor, although the auditor said the 2540 was fine, after I spoke with him again, I asked him in a little more detail, and he said the Government Finance Officers Association, GFOA, suggests that we stay between 10 and 25% of fund balance. So if we went with 15% as a of the 2015 budget, we would not want to go below $426,865.95, and then not go over 25% of the 2015 budget would be $711,443.25. Lots of numbers, huh? So at the end of the year, if we subtract everything up, we would be putting in transferring from the general fund to the capital fund $851,681.75, and assign that to capital projects. So those are the two possibilities of a motion. The 25, taking out anything over 40% and moving it over to the capital fund, or taking 25% and moving it over to the capital fund, or anything in between that you'd like.
The bottom line is that we can't just sit and collect taxes and sit on cash without a purpose for it. It has to be going someplace other than the normal needs that we have for garbage collection and fire and so on and so forth. You can't have big piles of cash sitting unassigned. And that's what we're trying to address here, because we have far too much cash sitting and have had that isn't assigned. And that's what the purpose of the workshops that we've had in the past several weeks have been about, to assign those funds to their appropriate place. If we get in, council's feeling is that 15 to 25% is a normal and lawful amount to have sitting in cash as a rainy day fund, if you will, in the general fund. The auditor has said that would be fine up to, and were they clear that they said you could go up to 40%? Was that their feeling?
Well, the GFOA says just keep it below 25% or below, between 10 and 25%. But he said he has communities that are lower than that percentage and higher. And when I first passed by the 25 and 40, he didn't have a problem with that. But if we look at the guidance from GFOA, it makes the change down to no more than 25%.
I think an important comment to make, this is something that is new territory, something that should have been done before. This is just one step along the way. We can anticipate we will be doing this again, and probably doing this annually, correct, Kathy? At least annually. And probably after our annual budget comes in, I guess I'll just offer a suggestion for the moment, rather than putting in a formal motion. I can do that, but I mean, I guess I'd be looking at transferring $600,000 or something of that 15, or the 1,563,125. to 125. I don't know exactly where that puts us, but that's on a percentage basis, that would be $963,125. Maybe people have thoughts that we ought to do more than that, but that would take us, I mean, loosely, if our budget is around $3 million, that would take us under $1 billion. That's somewhere probably in the neighborhood of 30%, maybe a little bit north of that. Thoughts? That's what I'm looking at. I can put that into a formal motion, but I'll give anybody a chance to jump in on that.
Why don't you put it in
All
form?
right, I will do that. I will move to transfer the sum of $600,000 from the general fund to the capital fund for future projects, and I so move.
In a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
What does that leave then, 25%?
I think, I mean, Kathy can do the math on that. If you
Roundabout?
if you use last year's number, I think it's more like 30. Did you do the math already?
Give me the numbers.
I don't need an exact number, just a close.
You'd have
Roughly
963, 125 divided by
Roughly
something.
21% of the budget. And it is what, oh, no, that's the, what's the number that's left? Not 600,000, I'm sorry.
You get 960, you'd have 963, 125 divided by roughly 3 million or thereabouts. I mean, if it was a million divided by 3 million, it'd be 33. I got
33.8%.
around 30, a little over 30%, 33.
That's the number that I think we've discussed in the past, that, and I'm comfortable with that at a third.
We have looked at least one other community that I think has 33% as an upper threshold. I don't know if we've looked at a lot of others or not, but I'd be comfortable with that.
The one thing to keep in mind, part of the rainy day fund, so to speak, is to pay for unexpected expenses. If we had a fire truck that burned up and we had to replace it, hopefully that would be on the capital expenditure list that we'd already have money earmarked for, but insurance will only pay what they perceive the value to be and what we've told them we want it insured at. So if you got a $300,000 vehicle replacement cost and you end up getting $80,000, somehow you got to kind of come up with that money, and that happens frequently. So I don't have an issue with your motion, and I'll support that, but I think we need to be cognizant and aware of that.
A good point, and I think Kathy maybe can enlighten a bit, but I think Paul, the auditor, and we will need to do this formally, I think formally in the not too distant future, but said we should have a contingency reserve in the capital fund as well. Wasn't that right, Kathy? We were advised. And I don't remember, was that 10%, or do you remember the parameters they were suggesting on that? But contingency fund in the capital fund.
10% sounds right, but I can't.
That's fair.
To your case in point, Supervisor Radke, wouldn't that beg to offer the question, are we properly insured, rather than do we have the right amount of money in our rainy day fund?
Well, insurance is a matter of risk. You want to insure something for $300,000, it's going to cost you a lot more money. When we looked at it last year, when insurance policies were renewed, it didn't make feasible sense to insure it at replacement value.
And then if, as a matter of policy, we choose to keep some of that risk with us, which is for sure a definite legitimate strategy, but then wouldn't we assign money to that account?
To cover the insurance premium?
No, to cover that level of risk.
But it's similar to insuring your car. You've got a 1991 Corolla and it gets in a wreck and
I
you want to
understand.
replace it with a new Cadillac, you're not going to get it dollar-wise from the insurance company.
I understand that. But to me, that would be an assigned use specifically, as opposed to just money to cover all kinds of contingencies.
To what level though? I mean, if
Well, I
you
don't know,
wanted
that
to,
would be a matter of policy. That would be a policy decision.
I mean, if you wanted to insure, if you wanted to cover the deficit between everything that we have, the value of what it is minus its replacement value, you couldn't do it.
I understand that.
There's far too much deficit there.
But that's where you get into how much risk do you want to continue to assume.
I don't think you have a choice because you're not going to be able to insure a vehicle that may be worth $100,000 but has a replacement cost of $300,000. You can't insure it for replacement cost. You're going to get its current day value.
You could. It would just cost a lot of money.
That may speak to the issue, why the recommendation is that we have a contingency or reserve in the capital fund, and that's maybe a good discussion to have. I think, and I'm running on memory, that I think you might have said 10% would be a minimum contingency. I'm not sure whether that was couched in terms of, when you go back on that, is that 10% of what's in the capital fund or 10% of our budget or whatever? But I mean, that's certainly something we could adopt as a policy, is how much to keep in there as a contingency that isn't dedicated to any particular purpose, which one consideration of that would be to cover the risk between replacement costs and what we might get for insurance payment for a vehicle that gets totaled, amongst other things. I think that's the purpose of it.
And I think we're perhaps a little bit off track. If we choose to assign a specific amount in the capital funds for that specific issue, whether that's 10% or whatever that percentage is, I think that's a discussion for another day. Right now, this discussion is how much we're transferring out of general fund into capital fund for future projects.
Agreed. As I said, I would support it. That's just something to keep in mind. I think we've seen, especially this year in the budget negotiations and workshops that we've had, that there's a lot of vehicles that haven't been replaced. And we're now at the critical point where most everything needs to be replaced. And some of it is past its useful life and can't be certified to be used. So now we're in the problem and the predicament that we're in, that everything needs to go and it's going to cost a lot of money. So by earmarking things to the capital fund, taking it out of the general fund makes perfect sense.
Anything further? Madam Clerk, I believe this requires a roll call vote.
If it's a simple motion, we can do a roll call vote. Supervisor Durr,
Aye.
Supervisor Fisher,
Aye.
Chairman Merrick,
Yeah, aye.
Supervisor Radke,
Aye.
Supervisor Wolf.
Motion carries. On to 7C, draft fund general balance.
We spoke last time about at the last meeting about adopting a policy for managing the fund balance in the general fund, and we worked on it a little bit just a minute ago on making this transfer. We did have a couple changes to the policy that we originally put out after Attorney Macy had reviewed it. And you can see on your blue copy, highlighted additions on 2 and then an additional number 4. And did you want me to read that to you or?
I think we can all read.
I don't have
Thank
a
you.
copy of that, so if you could read it, I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
We don't. Okay.
You don't have a
Do you
blue
want
copy?
All
Okay.
right.
So 2,
Thank you, sir. I can.
so did you want me to read it?
I'll get all the closing.
The bottom line is this goes back to the very same thing where we can't simply have excess taxes collected, and that if we're collecting funds in excess of tax dollars in excess of what we're spending or what we're outlaying in capital budget, that it has to be returned in the way of a lowered levy per state statute.
Just a comment as I read the addition to item 2 there of the basic policy. My reading of that, and you can tell me whether you read it differently, but I think what is being said there is if the comment is used appropriate, and that sounds to me like that's a judgment decision by the town board at the time consideration is made, that said such that the existing capital fund balance and capital fund needs, the town board at their discretion, which again they determine is appropriate, any excess money could be applied to ensuing or coming up budgetary expense, and the tax levy shall be reduced accordingly. As I read that, as if the capital fund is so flush in the judgment of the town board that there isn't a perception of the need to transfer that amount of money it could be used for ensuing budgetary expenses or reducing the tax levy. Is that the way everybody reads it? If that judgment is that it's so flush, you aren't compelled to do that?
That is indeed the way that it was written and the way that should be interpreted. Yes.
Okay, and that makes some sense to me.
One correction on there where it starts of if, it should be or if. No, of should be or.
And the only other thing observationally, I mean, as this is before us at this point in time, it still has the 25% and 40% bookends, which goes back to the discussion we were just having a few minutes ago.
Which again, we can, as a policy decision, we can keep that, or we range of 33%, so I think that's fine.
I mean, for my part, notwithstanding the information you shared with us, Kathy, I'm not uncomfortable with this. And again, I think as it is a policy, I think that a policy can be probably revisited. It can probably rescinded and reenacted if at some point in time the town board at that point in time sees differently. I believe that's correct, is it not? If it's a policy decision,
Agreed.
pretty much could be changed, I would think, at will by the town board if we get advice or they see things differently. So anxious to hear what the rest of you say. I can still stand with the 25 and 40%, but be anxious to hear what the rest of you have to say.
Is there a motion to adopt the policy?
Sure, I will move to adopt a document called Adopt a Policy for Managing a Fund Balance in the General Fund with the document that is before us. I so move.
And a second?
I'll second.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to D, crack filling and slag of roads. We put out a bid several weeks back, The bids came back, and we have a contractor that is not able to fulfill what he bid on, and we need to take some action on that.
I'd like to make a motion to rescind the contract to Farmer Asphalt Sealing for crack filling and slag.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
Just a clarification for the record, I don't know whether you have that information at hand, Kathy, but we have included in the motion the amount that that contract was awarded for. Does anybody have that at hand or not?
I can get it.
Whatever it is. I'm gonna just think that that would make the record clear.
Just a second.
While you're looking that up, question, what happens to the roads they've already done?
They haven't done any roads.
He did ours today.
They haven't done any roads. Your road was slagged today?
Pardon me?
Your road was slagged today?
Oh, we're talking slag, not crack. Oh, I thought it was crack. I thought I heard crack fill. Okay.
It's the portion of
Slag,
the slag crack fill on those roads.
okay.
The regular crack fill, we have a contract. They've been moving the crack.
Okay.
Supervisor Durer, friendly amendment to your motion, if I could we add, rescind the contract, reject all the bids, and rebid, approval to rebid the contracts? Would you have any objection to doing those all in one motion?
Well, he's looking at that, I guess a question that I would have on that, and I don't care that much, but they have not executed the contract yet. Okay, for clarification, it's probably fine then to rescind the contract or rescind the contract off.
And the amount was $58,269.
Is that okay to put that in the motion?
Sure. Did you second it? Who seconded it? You did?
Would you have any objection to adding the rescinding, rejecting all the bids, and authorization to rebid all at once, or do you want to do those separately?
Let's do them separate.
Fair enough. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll need a motion to reject all of the bids.
I'll make a motion to reject all of the bids for the portion of the bid specification for 2015 road repair that was due dated June 3rd, 2015 for crack filling and slag only.
Second,
I'll second it.
discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. And lastly, on to authorization to rebid that portion of the contract.
To make a motion to rebid for the crack filling and slag for the selected roads.
Second.
And just to clarify, we are only going to rebid the roads that we have selected to slag and crack fill. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. On to 8, accounts payable, authorization to pay $27,886.27. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion, we pay that.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And $9,648.96 for Rupert Milky. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion, we approve it.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And abstain.
Aye.
And a motion for adjournment.
I'll make the motion, we adjourn.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. Good evening, everybody.
You must have given